What's up? Mr. Negative, Season 1, Episode 4. This one is extremely off the top of the head, so have no clue where to go. But I am going to piggyback off of something that made rounds last week. Joe Rogan made a statement about never going. You could be the guy that sits on his butt, never goes anywhere, or you can be the guy that starts a gym class or whatever. But he used video games as the thing that will ultimately keep you from advancing in life and moving forward. Okay, he's not wrong, but I think the way he used the example was wrong. And this, I wanted to go touch on this because it really bugs me that I've heard on several occasions over the past minimum 10 years that video games are destroying men. And the reason of that is because being a man, I have never heard ever what destroys the opposite side, women. I've never heard that. In many situations or situations or anything where I've heard women being in any type of whatever, doing any type of wrong, I've never heard anybody say, and that's what's killing them. Right? So that's what really why when that came in my head I wanted to cover this. Okay, so how could video games actually affect negatively men? Well, I think on a very, very small side, you have people who do get addicted to the high that video games give them. If it hits that pleasure spot of their brain that they've never experienced before, yes, they could go back to that time and time again before at some point they never want to move and they die staring at that screen. But that has to be less than 1%. Because otherwise you'd hear the stories of people dying in front of their TV or their computer monitors every other week. Video game sale is a billion-dollar industry, multi-billion-dollar industry. So you can't just say that video games destroy men. It's on an abuse level. Now, do you want to say video games make adult men pay less attention to their family? I can grant you that, but I won't, because the situations where I've seen where someone would say that it's the video games that's causing this father not to spend time with his children, those situations, those men, I can absolutely more than make the argument that guy would have abandoned his kids anyway. That guy would have been a shitty father anyway. It's not necessarily the video games. There's one example I'm thinking of in particular, and I don't want to say any names. They might hear it, if they even listen to this crap. But that person, that guy, there were several other things he did that took time away from his children and his then wife. Video games was just one of the things that you could point at and say, yep, that's it. It was the most innocent. I'll put it like this. It was the most innocent thing he did that, took time away from his children, which is probably why he did it in the eyes of everyone else the most. Because let's say he did crack, right? Do people tell other people that don't do crack that they're doing crack? No. So you can't just simply put it on the video games. The video games just the most noticeable. Can you say video games are making men not either form a family in the first place or just simply not contribute to society at all? Yes, you can, but I won't grant you that. mainly out of bitterness, but whatever, I'll grant you that. Let's say video games is making men not participate in society just on a general level. Not having children, not going out and being social, part of, all of that, which I really don't understand how that would contribute to anything at all. Because honestly, if other than creating a family, what is him being social going to do for society? I'm pretty sure society doesn't care. You want him actually working and doing something, right? So the family front. We're in a day and age of luxury, right? We're in a day and age of luxury and no self-discipline. Just have fun, right? I'm sure this is going to come up in another podcast in the future, but as of right now, we're in that day and age. Luxury and no self-discipline, right? The men who don't participate in society as far as making families, those guys typically, from what I see, and you can debate me on this, maybe I'm wrong, but from what I personally can see, those guys would have simply just been guys who went to work and were just a check to their family. That's it. And what happens? Women have moved away from those guys. So then those dudes turn around to whatever. And video games is just one of the things that people want to point out. Some dudes get on, on this YouTube and they just make podcasts. They don't play video games, they just do this all day. Some guys, they get into other things, maybe bodybuilding or, just any other hobby. But it's not just video games. Video games are just the most innocent thing that is done by men that you can see. So that's why you're pointing it out. But it is not the absolute cause. And how are you saying we're being destroyed? In what way? In what way? Solely because we don't want to give the world children? When women delay or just straight up forego not having children, do they get the same flack for that? Can we say that their career is destroying them? Women with careers is destroying women. Because on average, they either get pregnant a lot later or they don't get pregnant at all. So what's destroying them? Now, one thing that I like to do is use myself as an example because it allows me to, I guess, be a little more direct about it or whatnot. But anyway, I play, I guess a lot. Maybe I'm probably mid-range as far as time spent playing games, and you can say it's because I have the time because I don't have a family. But it is not the reason that I don't have a family. Not having one opened up the time and the finances to do things like pick up I guess a hobby of trying to, accomplish meaningless things, right? And I'll admit it is meaningless. It's a hobby. Doesn't need a purpose. So a couple years ago, or maybe it was just a year and a half, something like that, I decided I wanted to turn one of my spare rooms into a game/entertainment room, right? And that's what I did. I used to be just a PlayStation guy because that was the first system I ever had. So I was, just in the midst of creating an entertainment room. I bought an Xbox and a Nintendo Switch, and I just bought, just game systems, right? And that, once I accomplished that, that was just the end of that. Now I just play it, just as a time killer, so to speak. It's not keeping me from doing something that I would do otherwise. Understand? So it's not it is how would it be described as destroying me? But I'm pretty sure they will stick me in that statistic to say, see, instead of going outside, you just sit there and you play that thing. When in actuality, if I didn't play it, I would simply either watch. Well, before the pandemic, I would just go to the gym when I was done playing it, which is around other people, right? Which is a social thing, right? So how is the video game taken away from my life at all? If I'm lazy, which I am, then I'm just fucking lazy. It has nothing to do with the video game. Does it allow you an excuse? No. No, it doesn't. You can't tell me, unless you're Ninja making millions, or that Shroud, or any of these dudes that are making money off of this, you can't tell me that it's keeping you from doing something that is meaningful. So any guy you want to make that excuse for, which y'all gotta really be careful with how and what you say about certain things. And that's a really huge pet peeve of mine, is people waiting, just wanting to use a hot button or a quick take on something, give something a label or a name. That it bugs me so much. Listen, when you do something like say, oh, video games are destroying men, you just gave him an excuse for why he is the way he is. Most men that you talk about like that, or that you're referring to, they were either lazy already, or they were people who were scared of the world already. They were just bums already. These people were already made who they were out to be before that game, before that system. That's who they were. Time wasters was who that guy was. So I don't want to hear anything more about these video games. They're not the problem. Let's talk about some things that could possibly actually might be destroying men. How about the constant telling them that they can't be who they are? Everything. Hold on, let me think of this one tweet. It was a tweet. She said something about men. What is toxic is something about aggression, violence. I can't remember everything, but it was 4 things, and the 2 that I can remember was aggression and violence. That somehow those are toxic. All right. So first of all, violence and aggression. You do know those things aren't wrong, right? They're not wrong. Not within themselves. How you use them can be wrong. It's saving someone's life. Dude, that takes aggression. That takes assertion. You gotta be on. Like, that's not a horrible thing within itself. If a stray dog is trying to chase you down, whatever, and some dude comes out of nowhere and he takes the bite or whatever dogs want to do if anything happens to him, you don't think that took a little bit of aggression and violence? Okay, and it helped you, didn't it? So then why would you call it toxic? Everything that society is starting to tell men is actually one of the biggest reasons why men play video games. You want men to stop playing video games? Give them a reason. This is what people in today don't understand. People don't understand that you need an incentive for something. You need an incentive to especially do something like sacrifice your life, sacrifice your time, sacrifice your money that you worked for. You need a reason. So what is the reason for him to just get off, shut the video game down, and then go out and be a part of society that he doesn't feel that he's a part of, or that he's welcome to? What's the incentive? To just be a man? That's not an incentive. That's just you telling him to do some shit. What's the incentive? There isn't one, obviously. Because otherwise, he'd be doing something to get that incentive, wouldn't he? Again, unless, he's lazy, which has nothing to do with the video games. Okay, so I had to pause it because I came to this thought that I did write down some things to possibly get men off of video games, right? If you want to. Because if you don't want to, I don't understand why you even complain that they're on the video games. Because like I said, these are typically the dudes that women don't want. Because there are plenty of dudes who play video games who actually have families. But, anyway. So, for the dudes that typically society doesn't want, to get them off of video games, you, again, like I said, incentivize it. So, I wrote down some incentives. Incentives. And, so let's go through them. Number 1. Recognition, right? We are celebrating every time there's an accomplishment by a woman doing something. It's just recognition, right? For example, any woman who does something on her own, she's independent, all that, it's like, you girl, applaud. But I remember just a year ago, a guy tweeted, own car, own house, job, something like that, right? The adult stuff. People dragged him. It went viral. People dragged him. You really think you can do this for that's what you're supposed to do? And that happens with everything, really. Like this whole protection thing that I think I'm going to do that next week. It's an entitlement now. It's a born right to be protected by somebody else, speaking about women. So, one thing that you can do to get men off of video games and back onto society is recognition. When they're out being good fathers, recognize it. Or however you want to tell them good job, give them a high five, however you do it. But recognize it. It shouldn't be, I have to save her from a burning building. It shouldn't be, I have to, risk my life because I kept her from getting her ass whooped by some dude over a parking spot. So when you see a guy who's doing what he's supposed to do, recognize it. You do it for the other side, do it for us. Right? Number 2, guarantees / perks, right? Now, I didn't work out the guarantees. I probably should have before I push record again, but if need be, I'll just take a time out to get together. But guarantees and perks, right? One perk that you could give them, right, is, for one, you could get rid of family court. That would be one. They would incentivize guys to say, because part of the reason that guys, not the sole reason, but part of the reason that men are like, fuck this, I'm not doing this family thing, is because if kids are involved, you're almost guaranteed to get a raw deal. Every time I remember this chick, I brought up the whole family court thing and how dudes most times don't get custody or even shared custody and blah, blah, blah. And her response was, you guys go to court unprepared. What? What do you mean unprepared? We're talking, why is my family a legal dispute, battle, tear each other down thing? You want to say what's right for the kids? That's the most famous thing in family court, right? What's best for the kids? I gotta come prepared for that. This is the home I have. This is the home she has. This is the type of lifestyle, security, protection, all that stuff, provision, everything that I can provide. This is what she can provide. But if mine's is better, you really want to say, okay, but yeah, let's see documentation. It's like, you can check everything in those computer systems, but you can't check that I have a job and a better house and a better way to, have them taken care of while I'm at work. You really prepare? What am I bringing to prepare for this nonsense? So one thing you could do is, at the very minimum, severely alter it. Severely alter the laws. And which doesn't seem like such a lopsided deal. Right? That's one of the perks. And one thing that is always asked for is authority. Now that's one, I just wrote that down because I always hear it, so I'm not exactly sure where I'm going to go with that one. But, you know, okay, we'll say this for authority. Right? Let's flip it. So, instead of staying with the family court thing, is instead of 80%, I think it is, of women get like, I don't think it's that high anymore. It might be around like the low 70s, high 60s. But anyway, it's still like lopsided as to terms of who gets sole custody and who has to just pay child support. If you make it automatic that the father gets minimum shared custody, unless either side proves themselves to be unfit, or they just flat out waive it, then that would be one. That would be a step. Guarantee us that, and you'll get more men outside and participating with society. You know, and actually, while we're at this, because this is what I really, really think we ought to try, regardless, anyway, to see if we can kind of swing the way this problem happens, is just give the dude full custody. Just off rip. Right? And if you have a problem with that, but you don't have a problem with the way it works now, you're full of shit. Alright? Next. And I have just come brain dead about how to get men off of video games. But I mean, when it comes to, I'm gonna, end it here. I like to go for 30 minutes, but close enough. But anyway, before I go, listen, to get men off of video games, specifically off video games, and into creating families again, is obviously, I don't know if you realize this, but you're going to have to make having a family more appealing than unlocking the new gun on Call of Duty. Now think about that. You want to shit on us because we find that more appealing, but what does that say about what the family structure has become? If playing a game is more appealing than creating your own offspring and raising them, think about that. You can shit on these dudes all you want, but that just says a lot about, because if it's destroying men, that means it's an epidemic problem. That means there's something wrong with your society. Not just them. Your entire society is something is wrong with it. So, again, now signing off, Mr. Negative. Be right, not positive.